This meeting of Wednesday, May 1st, 2019 is called to order. We'll begin with public comments. Please limit them to 2 minutes. I'm going to move this up.
Good morning, Commissioner, judges. My name is Kevin Skoglund from Citizens for Better Elections. I'm a member of the Protect Our Vote Coalition. 10 weeks after the voting machine selection and still no contract. But that won't stop Commissioner Deely and her deputy Nick Custodio. 83 Express Vote XL machines arrived on Monday. Commissioner Deely and Nick gave NBC 10 an exclusive first look and demonstrated how they work. It's hard to know where to begin. A person who is not on this board, not legally allowed to be on this board, is speaking on your behalf and taking major actions on your behalf. This is a candidate for office with huge conflicts of interest. On whose authorities were these machines brought in? I don't recall this board making any decisions related to machines. And under the Sunshine Act, these are decisions for the entire board to make in a public meeting. Even matters discussed in executive session need to be approved in a public meeting. Did Deely or Custodio even tell any of you that they were doing this? Does procurement know that voting machines were procured without a contract? I don't know the rules of procurement, but that seems pretty basic. Who paid for shipping and delivery? What city resources were used? You're now storing $700,000 of someone else's equipment on city property. Did the law department sign off on taking over this liability? They say it's an early shipment so they can begin testing the voting machines. That appears to me that Commissioner Deely is tasking workers under your supervision to perform this testing. These are workers who should be busy on other tasks like getting the current machines ready for the primary. She acts like she owns these machines. Hers to bring in, hers to use as a prop for her own candidacy 3 weeks before the primary. This seems like a campaign contribution from ES&S. You supported us, we need you to keep our contract alive, let us send you 83 voting machines for free to help your campaign. Most of all, it is stunning that a candidate for office has unlimited access to the voting machines which will be used in her own election. These are now 83 voting machines that we can't trust. Controller Reinhardt has flagged this and said the delivery of these machines shows just how broken this process has been every step of the way. This is more of the same. No transparency, ignoring the rules, unconcerned about conflicts of interest. Commissioner Deely makes a unilateral decision that serves her interest instead of the city's interest, and she bulldozes ahead. If I were the three of you, I'd be furious. And next week, this goes before City Council. This is your last meeting, your last opportunity to turn things around before then. But wait, the stink on this gets worse. Today, there's an article in the Inquirer. In charge of Philly elections, Commissioner lost her notary license for violating the law. This is not just about a simple notary license infraction and the fact that Lisa's been hiding the loss of her license. A union friend of Deely's was in the middle of a divorce. He came to Deely with some woman, and Deely allowed her to take away the woman's rights to union benefits. It sure looks like they conspired to steal money from her. We're past the point of just talking about voting machines. We're in criminal referral territory now. This board needs to pass a motion to get these voting machines removed from city property. This board needs to pass a motion to reverse this corrupt process. We're calling on Commissioner Lisa Deely to resign.
Thank you for your comment. All right. Next speaker. Good morning.
My name is Vicki Miller. I am with Indivisible Philadelphia, and we are part of the Protect Our Vote Philly group. I speak today to bring to your attention an article out this morning in Philly.com in which goes into detail about Commissioner Deely's consent order following her improper use of her notarization authorities. You may know that a notary exists to prevent fraud, and yet Commissioner Deely, as a notary, participated in a fraud and allowed a very significant fraud to occur in her failure to properly undertake her notary duties. An affidavit was brought before her. It looks like it was an affidavit from what I can tell from the article. It was brought before her, which relinquished the rights of a spouse to union benefits following a divorce. An imposter, she allowed an imposter to sign this document who pretended to be the spouse, to give up her spousal rights to these benefits, to money. She never required this imposter to show identification. She was doing it for a buddy. She never required the proper identification, and she never recorded the transaction in her notary book. This is in the consent decree and according to this article in Philly.com. So she failed to take her duties, her sworn duties as a notary, at all seriously. She instead decided to do a friend a favor, just as she's doing now, for whatever purpose. She is clearly, when it comes to these election machines, is not taking her sworn obligations as a commissioner seriously. She is perfectly happy to violate those. Not only that, but following the consent order, she was required to turn over her notary license, and she's not permitted to ever be a notary again. This is under the state's ruling. She then lied about that and said that she just voluntarily gave it in, publicly told things that were not true about that. She was also required to turn in her notary book, which to this date, according to this article, she still has not done. So this is evidence of her, the seriousness with which she takes her sworn obligations, just as she has failed to do as a commissioner when it comes to her duties for these voting machines. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next speaker.
Your Honors, my name is James Marsh, for the record, and also I'm curious, I know that through this cell phone in front of me that this proceeding is being transmitted to somewhere. Can we know for the record where this proceeding is being transmitted to?
Room 387 City Hall. Oh, where's
the cell phone
being transmitted to?
Where the cell phone is transmitting the proceeding to? There's somebody on the other end of the line who's saying yes.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So my basic point to be made is that this is not just a Philadelphia issue. This is a national issue. These battles regarding these questionable voting machines are being fought in other states, in Georgia, in New York, in northern Pennsylvania, and as we know, the Auditor General of Pennsylvania has in January and receiving replies in February inquired into circumstances of the procurement of voting machines all over the state of Pennsylvania, not just Philadelphia. That this is a national issue, the question of voter and election security, and so it's not just a group of people in Philadelphia bringing it up. This is a nationwide problem. By virtue of these meetings and all the substantive issues about these machines have been brought up, and one of the benefits of that is all those points that have been made are on the record. We have had a stenographer. All those factual points that have been made about the inadequacy of these machines are on the record. The chickens are going to come home to roost on this issue sooner or later. The city is on notice about that. The city is not going to be able to deny that they've known all about the inadequacies of these machines for a number of months at a minimum. So as there hasn't been movement that we can really see from the city so far, the city has been asleep at the switch in various ways. The city needs to wake up. The Mueller report indicated that not only in the past have attacks on our election system occurred, but it's going to be continuing in the 2020 election. They were attacks in the Florida state and the local election administrative machinery, also Illinois. So Pennsylvania is a swing state, we all know that. South Pennsylvania is going to be a target. We cannot pretend that we're in our little sphere here and we're safe. So for that, all those reasons, again, these machines have got to be extinguished from the process, and it has to be started over to get a proper acquisition. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Next
I'll
speaker.
refer to a taller chair.
This is loud enough.
We're just going to really closer.
Hello, my name is Murielle McCarthy. I'm a member of March on Harrisburg, which is a member of the Protect Our Vote Coalition. Judges Campbell and Furlong, I was disappointed in your recent decision to let stand a dangerous and ill-conceived decision, one shrouded in secrecy, on the procurement of new voting machines for Philadelphia. Protect Our Vote Philly has made its case to you on a weekly basis on the defects and vulnerabilities of the February 20th selection. Ironically, the best value guidelines that the city has adopted, under which the decision was made, call for a, quote, open, fair, and transparent process, unquote, when it was anything but. In fact, it was unethical and illegal. What I took to be the heart of your position is the following paragraph of Judge Campbell's letter to Controller Rebecca Reinhardt. Quote, However, I do not believe the Board of Elections should overrule its prior legitimate determinations. While I remain committed to the Board of Elections providing a forum for public comment, given this response, I do not believe the Board of Elections is the appropriate venue to address your concerns. End quote. What those two statements tell me is that your stewardship of Philadelphia's elections, one that may last through the November election, is something of an empty shell. You will not take on the vital issues that are at the root of your responsibilities as an elections board. Instead, like a rookie cop on a new beat, you'll let things slide for a while unless you find flagrant criminality. Unfortunately, the voters of Philadelphia don't need a cop. We need intelligent leaders willing to take the heat, to make a critical decision on an investment in elections management that will have a lasting impact on our city. In dollars alone, much is at stake. Doesn't Philadelphia deserve better? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker.
Good morning, Your Honors
Good
and
morning.
Commissioner. I'm Gloria Gilman, Chair of Philly Neighborhood Networks, and here on behalf of the Protect Our Vote Coalition. Much as you might like this voting machine purchase issue to go away and not be associated with you, the issue is not going to go away and will ultimately crescendo into a scandal. One that either of you two judges, acting commissioners, have the power to stop by making and voting for a simple motion to correct some of the wrongdoing done by this office. It is clear that Lisa Dealey and her deputy, Nick Custodio, picked and paid by Lisa Dealey, an exempt employee, are still running the office despite their ongoing violations of state and city ethics codes. Just yesterday, they showed off to press allegedly 83 of the types of voting machines that this office had voted to purchase for Philadelphia. They had these machines delivered to the offices you are in charge of. What authority do they have to do so? Did you direct them to do it? We have not heard any discussion between you as to bringing some machines in early to test them, as Lisa Dealey told the press. Isn't she making your rightful decisions here? And isn't this contrary to the ethics rules? Was a contract for the purchase or lease written and signed properly by the city of Philadelphia? Whose machines are they? Do they belong to Philadelphia? How did that happen? Are we liable for them? Was this a loan from the vendor to help Lisa Dealey win her election? Is this another instance of wrongdoing by the vendor to lure or thank a purchaser? Were the funds budgeted and properly allocated? Why was this done yesterday when all hands in your office should be working on the upcoming primary and not the November election? Who's doing the testing, and doesn't this require reassigning your office workers' duties? Lisa doesn't have the authority to do that now. This was a desperate effort by Lisa Dealey to get in the news as part of her primary campaign. She used this office illegally. The public does not know the answers to these and many other questions related to the selection and purchase of the voting machines because when Protect Our Vote Coalition sent a proper right to know request to your office, the response was to deny every single piece of paper outlining the process that led to the selection of the machines. The best value procurement regulations require an open, fair, and transparent process. Refusing to reveal anything about the process is the opposite of open, fair, and transparent. We commend the controller for trying to investigate the situation. The controller sent a subpoena to your office requesting documents related to this purchase and was also met with barriers to information to evaluate if this is a fair, open, and transparent process. Is it right that any action of this office should be hidden from the controller who has oversight authority by the city charter? The controller has now stated that she is deeply concerned about the legality of the process. Your office is still being run illegally by someone running for office, and you're letting it happen by failing to act on your own judgment. Today's inquiry revealed that Lisa Dealey has a history of doing her job outside the rules, that her notary license was revoked for her lifetime as a result, and that despite that, she continued to lie and make up false explanations as to why she did what she did. Don't let her continue to run this office. Don't let her false actions be ratified by your failure to assume the duties of this office. Your letter to the controller said that you were not going to act because there was no reason to overturn the properly executed acts of your predecessors, but you know that their acts were not properly executed. We have been showing you documentation and testifying to the improprieties for many weeks now. We have a suggested motion that one of you could now make to stop all of this in the interest of protecting the integrity of Philadelphia's voting system. And copies here. Would any of you like to make it?
All right, thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Your
morning.
Honors and Commissioner. My name is Rich Garella. I'm with Protect Our Vote Coalition as well, and I'm a resident of South Philadelphia. So, as people have said, it's been a number of weeks now, and there's been really no progress here at the Board of Elections in fixing this terrible situation. We've got new evidence of the insecurity of these machines that has been exposed recently, and that they can print onto voters' ballots after the voter has ostensibly verified what their vote was. The ballot passes by the print head again, so software interference could cause votes to be voided undetectably. We've got obvious abuse of authority yesterday at the City Commissioner's office by Commissioner Lisa Deely, and we can see, I mean, this was on Channel 10. This is a campaign ad coming out of the Commissioner's office. There is no reason that these machines, which are not Philadelphia voting machines because there's no contract, would be there being tested. And I, for one, would like to know exactly whose brilliant idea this was. And yes, I'm looking at you, Nick. Because when I saw you there yesterday, you looked a little bit surprised to see me. So it's a longer story, but I just show you a little bit of that. Now we've got this notary story, which other people have talked about. It shows you the level of integrity that we've been dealing with in the Commissioner's office that created the contract that we're fighting against. Now we have $15 to $20 million extra that this contract will cost. That money does not exist and cannot exist, at least not before a bond issue comes in November. That means that these machines can't be bought, at least not until it's too late to put them in. And we had a statement from Controller Reinhardt, which we absolutely applaud, where she says very clearly that because of doubts about the legality of this contract and other factors, that not a dollar will go towards it. All of this put together means one thing. It means that this contract is dead. This ship has sailed. This contract won't be executed. All it needs now is to be declared dead so that we can move on and get a voting system that Philadelphia can be proud of. What we're asking you today is to take up the mantle of your responsibilities. You are the Board of Elections. You make these decisions. Judge Furlong, Judge Campbell, Commissioner Clark. You are in charge of this decision, and it is your responsibility to take up this matter and solve this, to vacate the decision that was made by Commissioners Deely and Schmidt on February 20th, and restart this process so that we can have a voting system in place. If that starts now, we could do it by November. If it starts a little later, we could do it by May. It can still happen. It has to happen. You are the ones who can do it. You have motions in front of you now. There's a short version and a long version. They both amount to the same thing. We don't care what wording you use as long as it vacates the decision and restarts the procurement process for a good voting system. Please, we ask you, take up your responsibility now. This is your time, now. Thank you.
All right. Any other speakers? Hearing no response, we'll move on to the supervisor reports. Mr. Richardson.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, Your Honors. I'm going to start off the county board. The data unit is sorting and proofing seminar cards and the street list will be coming in today. That's it.
Thank you. There's no other, thank you. Old business or new?
New business, I'd like to say something. New
Sure.
business. Since February the 20th, when the commissioners recused themselves to their running for office.
Can you speak louder, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Since February the 20th, since the commissioners that are running recused themselves.
Louder? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm partially deaf in one ear.
Okay, you want to come a little closer?
No, just shout louder. Please.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll try it again.
Thank you.
Since February the 20th,
Okay.
since the commissioners recused themselves who are running for office, this board has not made any decisions or motions to bring in the new machines. I want you to know that Commissioner Clark's office was not aware. We did not receive an email that these machines would be here yesterday. So we were not aware. Going forward, I would like to make sure that we are informed if any information comes in, that the board is informed so that the board can make it public to the public because of the sunshine meeting and us being transparent. And we are a transparent board. We like to do the right thing. But we can't do the right thing if we don't know. How the machines came, I don't know. Who's paid for them, I don't know.
Are you going to investigate?
Sure, all three of us will find out how that happened because the decisions going forward are in our hands. We are the city commission and we are the board. So no decision should be made without the board knowing what's going on. And going forward, I hope that you and the other two commissioners meet and discuss promoting anything that the commissioner's office meant to promote at the sunshine meeting and vote on it so the public will be fully aware. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. All right. There's no other new business. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Stenographer.
Thank you. Excuse me?
Come on. All right. That's next. Once you give it back to me. All right. All right.